Hello everyone, welcome to 3DDesignAcademy.com in the 16th Q&A session. In this segment, I will attempt to solve various problems or questions that you guys might have in Alias. If you have a question or an area that's not working out, please feel free to send a model to contact@3DDesignAcademy.com. Now, in this particular session, a viewer asked me about making the body side of Lexus LF-30. Now, this is the car in question. This was probably one of the most difficult body side I've worked on or seen, just because, well, partly because it's a very organic and there's a lot of shape that's blending into each other. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is well, right now I have a setup file like this. Luckily it does have a side view, so I don't have to try to adjust it a lot. So let's go ahead and build it with this. So right now I have the side view set up over here. This is the dimension of the vehicle. However, you'll see that because I'm pretty sure this is because it's the discrepancy is due to the this image being a photograph, but that's okay. It'll provide me with a good enough reference for me to build it. Okay, so I have the canvas image and also the wheels set up. So let's go ahead and build some surfaces. So I'm just going to set the curve to 2 degrees, and I'm just going to snap a curve over here like this, and I'm just going to snap a curve somewhere over here like this. I think the bottom line is also pretty good, so I'm just going to snap something like this over here, and it's going to build a rail. So I'm just going to grab a bi-rail like this. I think that's good. Well, because of the CV structure over here, I probably want to raise it up a little bit. So in order to do that, you probably want to just grab a curve and do something like this, and as you can see, it's rising up. Now that's where the feature line continues over here, so it's probably better to just push this out like this, and I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, well, let's just make sure the transparency is good. Okay, so the second thing I'm going to do is, if you can see the image over here, actually, you know what, let's pull this up. You'll see that this is actually blending into a surface over here, so I'm going to try and create that. So let's go back to Alias over here. Now, however, that's it. However, you'll see that this is actually going in a little bit. So what I'm going to try and do is, well, push this in. So I'm just going to, so right now the curves are both located like this. So I think I'm just going to use a little bit of rotate. I don't know how much I'm going to push it in, but let's just push it in, some distance and see how that blends in. Okay, so now let's go ahead and connect this. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to set up a curve over here. Let's actually, before I do it, let me just see the image. Now, I can probably do either one, or I can make a bi-rail. I'll have to take a look, but let's just do a rail, connect the dots, and see where it ends up. So I'm just going to snap a curve over here like this, and I'll maybe just snap it over here like this and see how that does. So I'm just going to do a rail like this, and I'm just going to do a curve segment over here to make sure that it's not too big. That's you know what, the angle is not exactly great, but setting it up over here, I don't think that's going to make too much difference either. So let's start with it and see how it does. So obviously it does need to intersect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, actually, you know what, let's do that later. Let's just set up some surfaces first before proceeding to that. And let's just take a look at the image. So as you can see over here, it's flat over here, relatively flat, but it does have a quite a gesture going into this area. So I'll have to set that up too, and I'll probably build some of the surfaces over here. So let's go ahead and start with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up a bi-rail. So I'm just going to set up something like this over here like that, and I'll just set up some curve over here. Now I'm just going to concentrate on the body size. So these surfaces over here, I'm just going to just fill it up so that it doesn't look too hollow. Okay, so I'm just going to set up some curves over here like this, and let's just bring it outboard over here. Now obviously I do not have a top canvas, so I'm just going to just block it in. So let's go ahead and do a freeform blend over here. It's going to be positioned on both sides. I'm just going to snap it over here. And I'm just going to say connect ends over here like this. Obviously, modify perimeter is going to be turned off. I'm going to have a little bit of crown. Let's do a crown proportion of something like that. And I'm going to say modify range. And I'm just going to go to a side view like this and just set something up like that. Okay, so that looks good. And now for this area, I don't think it's super critical, especially for my build. I wonder if there's an image from the top. Well, not really. So I'm just going to set up some surface, and it just so that I can block something in there. So I'm just going to grab a bio rail like this, and I'll just fill it in. Okay, so that's good. And if I need to adjust it, I can always do that. Actually, you know what? That looks a little bit flat. So maybe I'll just do a freeform blend from here to here like that. And let's just give it a little bit of crown. I think I probably wanted to have a little bit more crown than that. Maybe something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's not critical at all. Okay, so now I do need a surface over here. So let's, I'm probably going to give it a little bit of twist on this side. I'm not sure, so let's just block it in for now. I'll probably have to do a bi-rail on this one, just because if you see this, it's cut a lot of, well, actually, you know what? I think here's what I'm going to do. I'm probably just going to separate it. So let me just do a rail first, like this. I'm just going to do something like that over here. I'll probably, because I think that's pretty in line, maybe there's a little peak, but if you look at the side view over here, well, if you look at this, I think it's pretty in line. I think there's a little bit of curl in, so I might have to do that. So, well, let's do this. What I'm going to do is, well, I think the wheel flat completely sort of integrates into that one, so it's probably a good idea to integrate this over here. So let's do this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it one line. Let's take a look. Actually, let's take a look at the side view. Well, I would say that's pretty a complete fade in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to split the wheel flat over here, and this is going to be a different piece. So let's do this. Let's go back to Alias, and I'm just in case, I'm just going to save this wheel flat over here. So I'm just going to say hide it over here. I'm going to say hide. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this edge over here like this, and I'm also going to duplicate this edge over here on the outside. Now this inner surface is going to be modified a little bit, so I'm just going to snap it over here, and this one over here I'm going to snap it on the inboard side like this. Now it doesn't have to be super exact, so that's good. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, well, there are a couple of things you can do. You can always trim it, or you can trim convert it on align to this piece. You can do several things, or you can just rebuild the freeform blend in order to make that surface. So let's do this. I'm just going to right now I have the curve on the outboard side duplicated, so I'm just going to snap it over here like this so that everything's aligned. Let's see, is that the right one? No, that is not. Okay, so I'm just going to align it over here like that so that it's right on the curve. Oh, let me just zoom in. Now that's going to allow me to have a nice uniform surface over here that with the peak just disappearing right there. So that should be good. Okay, this piece on the other hand, I'm going to just delete, and let's go ahead and do a freeform blend again. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of crown to the outboard side. And let's go ahead and make sure that this is lined up like that. Okay, of course, the proportional crown, it's going to be a little bit. 0.05 should do. CV structure is okay. I think that's good. Right, so now that's done, I'm going to create this side over here, but I'm going to let it curl in a little bit. So let's first of all delete this piece over here. And of course, I would have to realign all these. So actually, you know what? Let's do that first. So I'm just going to snap this one over here on the curve like this. And I'm going to say partial. Blending will be on. Extrusive result 1. Actually, let me see if I can just make it of 5 degrees. I prefer that. So that's good. And this one, I think I'm just going to redo it. And this might change according to the angle. So we'll have to see. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a, well, fit curve. You can always duplicate it, but this should be good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to curl in a little bit on the bottom. So I'm just going to grab this one over here, delete the construction history, grab the CV, and let's just bring it inboard like that. Okay, so now I'm just going to do a rail over here like this. And I think that should be good. Now, that's not however, I do need to make this part over here. So let's just go ahead and trim. Now, that's not however, I think this is all facing the lower like that. So I'll probably have it intersect somewhere over here. Let me just make sure that it's what's happening though. Oh, depending on the picture, I'm not sure. I think that should be it. So I think I would just completely get rid of that and just let this curl in. So let's see if I can execute this. Now the lower doesn't really matter, but well, let's just build something over here. Yeah, I think it might be, I'll just block it and see how it is. And I'm starting to feel like this should actually be going underneath this. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Okay, so if that's the case, let's do this. I'm just going to snap a curve over here, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of crown like this. And what I'm going to do is just run a rail through here, like that. So what that's going to do is basically describe this surface over here. I think this is just pointing all downwards. Though that's quite a strong highlight. So I wonder if I need to break into 2 pieces. Yeah, I think I need to. Okay, so let's do that. So I think I'm just going to break it into 2 pieces over here. So basically it would be 2 sections like that. Now for the bottom one, I'm just going to, roughly build a surface, but I don't know if I'm really going to go into all the details and stuff, but let's do that. So I'm just going to create a surface like this, and that's going to align over here and this one over here. And let me just break it. So I'm just going to snap a curve like this, and I think somewhere over here should be a good breaking point, so maybe I'll do that. And I'll, depending on where it lines up, I'm just going to do that over there. So let's go ahead and project this one. And I'm just going to, actually, you know what? Let's do this. I'm just going to extend this curve all the way through. I'm going to trim that so that it creates something like that. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to make sure that it's over here. So I'm going to snap a curve because I think there is a little bit of blend going on. So I'm just going to snap this one over here like this. I'm not quite sure if it's supposed to be like this. Now looking at this picture, I feel like, yeah, I think that should be good. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and project over here. So now I'm just going to do a rail. I'm going to grab this COS like that. And let's just make sure that's nicely fitted. Of course, this one has to be 3 degrees. And I'm just going to snap it over here. Okay, that's good. And now that creates a nice section over here. I think that should be good. Now there's a chance that I might need to bring it all outboard a little bit more, but well, we'll see. All right, so for the bottom one, I'm going to just give it a a little bit more section. So let's just copy and paste this one and just snap it over here. I'm just going to rotate it quite a lot more inboard. So basically make it lean like that. I'm just going to do a rail over here. Let's just turn the explicit control off. I'll probably have to do a little bit of CV cleanup there, but I think that should be good. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm just creating something like that. And actually, you know what? Let's just bring this up. So I'm just going to snap this one over here. I'm just going to bring it up like this. So that creates a nice break there. I think that should be good for that one. However, I'm just going to snap this over here like this. And let's just bring it down just a little bit because I feel like it might be a little bit too small. I'm going to actually take out the crown a little bit because I think that might be a little bit too much. And I'm just going to bring this down so that I can just trim everything off from the side view. Okay, so I think that's good. I'll probably, now this one, I might have to do some adjustments later, but let's just quickly block it in and proceed with other areas. So I'm just going to align this one. I'm just going to say blending on, extra series is going to be 2, blend factor of 0. And I'm just going to reduce the number of spans. And this one looks like it needs another degree. That's good. And I'm just going to do the same thing over here. But this one is going to be a little bit shorter. Okay, again, single span, increase a degree. Looks like that I was able to achieve position there. And that looks good. Okay, so as you can see over here, it's got a nice break towards bottom. I think that's good. And I think the rest of it, I really need to block in this area first before proceeding to others. Now, it looks like this one is floating. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snap this curve over here like that. That's good. And now let's go ahead and do a bi-rail over here. So let's just take a look at the image. So what I'm planning to do is I'm just going to create a surface that connects from this to this, and I'm going to trim this out, and I'm going to create a surface. Basically, I do see a bone line coming through over here. So I'll probably create a surface here and surface here, and I'm going to connect the two with the fillet like this. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm just going to create a bi-rail over here. So I'm just going to say gen over here, rail over here, and rail over here, like that. Okay, so that's good. And I'm just going to do an explicit control, make it a little bit smaller. Now this can be 2 degrees, but this one, I probably need to increase the degrees. So let's see. I'm actually going to do a fit curve over here. And let's see how close I can get. Okay, so that's still failing. 0.0, maybe I'll just do 5 degrees. Yeah, that's much better. And I'm just going to delete this one. And let's go ahead and do a bi-rail based on this curve that I just created. So I'm just going to do a rail over here, explicit control. I'm going to turn that off. Oh, that's unfortunate. Curve segments off. The rebuild is still needed. So that's that. Okay, so if you see the highlight over here, I do see a break around over here. So I'm going to target that. So let's go ahead and probably do something like that. Maybe I'll just do a little rotation. I'm just going to match the highlight like that. And let's see how that does. So I'm just going to project a curve over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create on that. Well, basically, I'm going to create a surface for this one. So if you see something that sort of looks from the rear, you'll see that there's a surface over here. So I'm just going to try to create that. And let's see how that goes. All right, back to Alias. So I'm just going to create a curve like that. And I'm going to, well, it looks like there's a little bit of crown. So let's just put a tiny bit of crown. I don't think it's that flat. I'm just going to raise it up. And I'm just going to do a rail over here like that. All right, so that's looking good. And I do need to create this one. So let's go ahead and do that too. So for this one, let's see. Well, first of all, I'm just going to trim this. And let's go ahead and do a rail. Let's go in 1 and 1. Like that. Okay, that's looking good. I'll probably need to bring it down to this point over here. So let's just use a stretch tool. And I might do a little rotation depending on how I need to set this up. But I don't think that's too bad. Alright, so now that's set up. What I'm going to probably end up doing is I'm just going to well, blend this back to over here. So I'll have to do that. So, but before I do that, let me just create some blend curve. So I'm just going to do a curve fillet, and I'm going to just do a surround for this one first before I go down there. So I'm just going to, let's see, it's going to be chord, it's going to be G2. And let's start with, well, something a little bit bigger, probably 200. And let's see if it creates it. 300. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to make it 4. I think 4 might be a little bit too much. I'll probably need to bring it a little bit there. So maybe I'll just 350, 370. Yeah, I think 370, maybe a little bit bigger. So I'll do 380. I think that's good. So what's going to end up happening is I'm just going to, well, basically do a fillet over here. But of course, I don't know where it intersects, so I'll need to do that. But before I do that though, I think I'm going to block in some more surfaces. So in order to do that, I do need to basically find out where this is intersecting and all that stuff. So I'm just going to extend this curve over here. So I think the intersection point over here isn't too bad, but let's just check. I might need to do a little bit of rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to intersect this one. And I'm going to actually get rid of these two curves. So where this is supposed to be. Oh, actually, it's supposed to be over here. So let me just do a quick indication. So basically, this intersection point is supposed to be over here. But I do need to figure this surface out first. So that's going to determine whether I push this in or push it out. So let's do that first. All right. So as you can see over here, I think this angle is a little bit off. I think this intersection point isn't too bad. Well, let's go ahead and just mark it up so I know where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to say hide unselected. I think this is a pretty good point for the bottom one. So I'm just going to mark that up. So yeah, that's pretty good. But it's a little bit off. So I'm just going to go ahead and retract it, and I'm just going to re-intersect it. That does push this one a little bit rearward too, but as you can see over here, I think it needs to be done a little bit more, and I think that's good. Now, one other thing that I have to do is I just got to make sure that this bend over here also happens. So as you can see over here, the surface goes straight and has a little bend, and it goes this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I think this is where it's supposed to be. I'm just going to mark that up like that. Oh, I don't need the box. I do need the curve though. Oh, that's just a COS. Okay, so delete the COS over here. I actually don't need the box anymore, so I'm just going to hide it. It's sort of in the way. And let's just bring everything, all the objects that I created in there, back out. Okay, so that's good. And I'm just going to project over here. Now there is going to be a span over here, but that's okay. I don't know what this surface is, so let's just delete that. All right, and now let's just check the intersection point here. So I'm just going to intersect it against this piece over here. Now looking at this, it probably needs to go in a little bit inboard, or this needs to come a little bit outboard. But before I do it though, let me just check a few things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snap a curve like this, and I'll just snap it somewhere over here. So basically this is going to be this surface over here. That's going to be that primary. So I'm going to say just 1 and 1 like that. And let's check the angle. Now that's actually creating a pretty nice break over here, which isn't too bad. So let's just check it against the canvas over here. I do think that this surface probably needs to go up a little bit because this is where I'm seeing the highlight break. So maybe just a little bit more. So I'll just raise this up over here like this. And that's going to allow me to increase the height of that. Now, I don't think I'm going to do it too much, but well, we'll have to see. Okay, so I'm just going to do an intersect over here also. Okay, so that's not too bad. Now, this highlight could be a little bit high just due to the, well, it is a fillet, so I'll have to take a look at this, make sure that everything's good. All right, so that's looking pretty good, I think. Let's see. This will probably also need to be adjusted. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the merge off. And I'm going to extend these two and see where that ends up. I'm going to just align this one so that I don't have to delete the history, but it is, think of it as an extension of the surface. Blending will be turned off. I'm just going to make it 2 degrees. The same thing over here. Why is it telling me to delete history? So I'm going to grab, oh, there we go. I'll grab this one. Okay, that's good. Okay, so it looks like this is where it ends up. So I'm just going to do a quick intersect. And I'm just going to create a fillet based on, not a fillet, sorry. I'm just going to create an extension based on that and see where that location is going to be set. So looking at this, I think the height actually is pretty good. So I'll probably do a blend between the two. Well, actually, you know what? Let's do that. So I'm just going to grab a curve fillet again. This one is going to be a little bit smaller. So maybe I'll try with a 200. There we go. And I'm just going to try to match the shape over here. So it looks like it needs to be a little bit bigger. So 220. Oh, too big. 210. Maybe 205. I'll probably have to increase the height on this just because of this location. But overall, it's not too bad. Well, I'm probably going to do the refinements a little bit later. So let's just build something over here and see how that does. So I'm just going to project this one over here. I'm just going to do it over here. I think that should be okay. I'm just going to project this from Y. And let's go ahead and build a square. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1 is going to be curvature. 3 is going to be curvature. And that's looking pretty good. Okay, so that fills in nicely. Now that's not, however, I do want to fill this space up just so that I can take a look, better look at all the surfaces. So I'm just going to grab this one. Just going to project it from the side. And let's go ahead and trim. So I think that fills in nicely. I think that once the fillet is in, I think that's going to look pretty good. So good progress so far. Now there's still a lot of things to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end the first part over here and we'll continue on second part in the next one. Okay, so that is it for first part of LF-30. We'll continue in the next lesson. Want to learn more? Then become a member at 3ddesignacademy.com, where you will find hundreds of video tutorials ranging from basics, including car creations, intermediate level tutorials such as this wheel, all the way to Class A modeling of the interior car exterior. Interested? Visit 3ddesignacademy.com.